So previously we covered up till the treaty between the Constituent Assembly and the United Kingdom. So now we'll move on to the response of the Congress and the Muslim League. Do you have any doubts like the previous one? Anything we've covered?
No,
All right,
no.
all right. I'll continue then. So the response of the Congress and the Muslim League. The cabinet mission plan was a most carefully worked out compromise between the conflicting claims of both the League and the Congress. So although the League's demand for Pakistan had been rejected, the cabinet mission sought to satisfy the League by a provision which permitted the grouping of the provinces. So over here, the cabinet mission was trying to play the judge between the Muslim League and the Congress, and they wanted to, make both sides happy. While they rejected the demand for Pakistan, they made sure to group the provinces of Pakistan together. Like for example, the two main provinces or regions that the Muslim League demanded was in the west, Sindh, Punjab, and the other regions of that, which was the B. This one belonged to Group B of provinces, and Group C, Assam and Bengal, which also the Muslim League claimed. So they tried to, the grouping was done because the rest were put into one, where the Congress had the power, they put them there. The remaining provinces, they divided them separately so that the Muslim League would be satisfied. So the Congress Working Committee sought an assurance that these proposed constituent assembly would be a sovereign body, and that the provinces should be free to opt out of a group to which they did not wish to belong. This was important of the view of the fact that Assam in the proposed Group C had a Congress government in the time. The cabinet mission accepted the complete freedom of the Constituent Assembly to frame the constitution, but insisted on the compulsory grouping of the provinces. Even then, the Congress accepted the plan because it preserved the unity of India. It agreed to join the Constituent Assembly with a view to framing the constitution of a united democratic India. The Congress, however, rejected the Viceroy's offer to form an interim government because the principle of parity with the Muslim League was not acceptable to it. So, first, let's see the response of the Congress. The Congress was very happy, they wanted to an assurance that the Constituent Assembly would be sovereign, that is, it would be independent of any British influence, and that the provinces, two things. First is that, second thing, that provinces should be free to opt out of a group it did not belong. So why the Congress did it? Because they realized, okay, in Bengal and in Punjab and Northwest Frontier Province Sindh, over there the Muslim League has government, we can't do anything. But in Assam they had a Congress government, so the Congress thought if this right is given, then Assam can opt out of Group C and join
हाँ,
Group
पढ़
A.
रहा था.
Hello, hello,
हाँ, hello.
yeah, are you there?
हाँ, you can tell me again.
All right, which what did you not hear?
The cabinet mission accepted the complete freedom of the constitution.
Oh, yeah, so they accepted the complete freedom. So they said, yes, we will assure that the Constituent Assembly will be free and independent, but we insist that the compulsory grouping be of the province be ensured because they didn't want the Muslim League to feel alienated. Even then, the Congress accepted it because it preserved the unity of India and agreed to join the Constituent Assembly. However, they were against the Viceroy's offer of forming an interim government because they did not want to have equal parity with the Muslim League. They said we are much more, we have more provinces. Why should we and Muslim League, which has only three, half of our, not even half, almost one third of ours, why should we have the same as them? The Muslim League. The Muslim League criticized the proposals because the demand for Pakistan had not been accepted in clear-cut terms. However, on June 6, 1946, the League accepted the cabinet mission's proposals. It saw in the plan the seeds of Pakistan. Jinnah interpreted the regional groups of provinces as a de facto recognition of his Pakistan demand. The League authorized Mr. Jinnah to negotiate with the Viceroy in regard to the formation of the interim government. Alright, any doubts in this? So the two main parties, these were the responses. So next
No.
we'll move on to the reaction of Sikhs and scheduled castes, SCs. So Sikhs opposed the proposal because Punjab was placed in Group B along with Muslim majority provinces of Northwest Frontier Province and Sindh. They felt that the Muslim League would now play a dominant role in that region. The scheduled castes, however, were divided. The scheduled castes, however, were divided into two
पापा
groups.
भी पढ़ ले।
The first group was that of B.R. Ambedkar.
नहीं हुआ है, पढ़ लेने दो। अभी जला लेंगे। सॉरी।
Yeah, no worries. So, so the Sikhs were opposed to this plan because Punjab was placed in Group B along with Muslim majority provinces of Northwest Frontier Province and Sindh. So they did not want. They felt that the Muslim League would now play a dominant role in that region. So as we know, they both were part of Group B, and combined together, they would because the population was more in the Muslim majority provinces of Northwest Frontier Province and Sindh. They were worried that the Muslim League would dominate the entire region. Scheduled castes, however, were divided into two groups. One was the pro-Ambedkarite faction, who opposed the plan because only one seat was offered to scheduled castes in the interim government. Out of 14, only one seat was allowed, and they were opposed to it because they felt we want a proper representation. So around 15% of the population is SC, all right, scheduled caste, and only one seat is not in that, not in proportion. That's what they felt. They wanted more. Second thing is the Jagjeevan Ram. So that is another. He was another famous. I think. One second. Yeah, he was also. So Jagjeevan Ram was a he was another scheduled caste, but he was pro Congress. He supported the Congress viewpoint. He was a loyal member of the Congress party. All right. Shall we move on to the formation of the Constituent Assembly?
हाँ।
Alright, so formation of the Constituent Assembly. Meanwhile, arrangements to elect the Constituent Assemblies went ahead. So the elections were completed at the end of July 1946, the method being the indirect election by the provincial assemblies. The total number of Congress members in the assembly was 201 and that of the Muslim League was 73. The remaining seats went to independents and other parties. So out of 292, 201 went to Congress, 73 to Muslim League. So the remaining 274 means 8 more seats that were left. Those were divided between independent candidates and two other parties that contested. And another fact I will tell you about this is that during this election, so at the time they had reserved constituencies for Muslims.
8 or 18?
Where 8. 292 were the total number of seats reserved for provinces, correct? We studied that earlier. Did you remember or you forgot?
274 was for Congress and Muslim.
No, total it was, wait, see here. Total 292
Hello?
members the provinces would elect. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
हाँ
Yeah. So,
हाँ, give me 2 minutes now.
alright. Do you have to go? If you have to go, tell me.
No, I'm getting a
Yeah.
call from a tuition. Sorry.
Go and come fast.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, are you there?
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So, as
Sorry.
I was saying earlier, the provinces would elect 292 members. Alright? So, and yes, you were right. So, 210 Hindus, these
So
were.
I was asking,
Yes?
that 18 are left now.
No. 292, out of which 210 Hindus, 78 Muslims, 4 Sikhs. These are the reserved seats. Alright? Now coming here, so 292 minus 201, so 201 plus 73. Together the Muslim League and the Indian National Congress formed 274. Right, yeah, my bad, my math, sorry, you're right, 18 seats. So one more thing to note is that 73 seats the Muslim League won. So 73 out of the total 78 seats for Muslims, the Muslim League won. So this shows how much the Indian Muslims felt that the Muslim League was representing the interests of the Muslim community. So that is around
You were telling me something.
94%. Yeah, I just calculated it now. 94% of the Indian Muslim population, 94% of all seats reserved for Muslims, the Muslim League won. That was a very huge amount. So now we will move on to this. Alright,
Hmm.
what else did we do? The two nation theory and all we have completed. Formation of the interim government we have completed. We have to start direct action by Muslim League. All right, shall we
By
start?
Muslim League.
Yes. So after that the interim government and us formed and all that, and the Muslim League refused to join the government because the Muslim League did not win that many seats. It wasn't as big as the Congress party. All right, and this time the Viceroy let Nehru form the government, and he also made it clear that if they needed, he would allow the Muslim League to join back in. You know, in the government of 14, he would let the Muslim League propose 5 names. 6 would be names of the Congress, including one representative of scheduled caste, and other 3 would be representative of other minorities. All right, that is just the brief of it.
Huh.
So the direct action
Okay.
by Muslim League's resolution regarding direct action. Although the Muslim League had earlier accepted the cabinet mission, there were many things at this time that they did not like. The Congress had an overwhelming majority in the Constituent Assembly. The League feared that it would be outvoted in the Assembly. It also feared that British withdrawal from India meant transfer of powers to Hindus, who were a majority in India. Thus, the Muslim League passed a resolution on 29th of July 1946 withdrawing its acceptance of the cabinet mission plan. It decided to resort to direct action in order to put pressure on the government to accept its demands for Pakistan. This meant bidding goodbye to constitutional methods. Muslim League fixed 26th August 1946 as Direct Action Day. In Kolkata, the day began with dreadful activities: stabbing, killing, arson, and criminal assaults on a large scale. Well, let's read this first. The Viceroy turned down the proposal of the Khan brothers that the people should have the choice to vote for an independent Pakistan and not simply asked to be cast their votes in favor of Pakistan or Indian Union. Therefore, Abdul Ghaffar Khan and his followers boycotted the referendum. That's just something. All right. So what happened is now Muslim League was fed up and decided to take resort to violence to get their deal. So they announced 16th of August 1946 as Direct Action Day. In what happened in Kolkata, there were a lot of activities happening: stabbing, killing, arson, means setting fire to buildings, and criminal assaults on large scale. The Muslim League Chief Minister of Bengal, Surawardi, I think is no H. Surawardi, Hussein Surawardi, did not take any steps to protect life and property of the citizens. The communal violence spread to other parts of the country. Alright, let's read the above article. Muslim League joined the interim government. The interim government was sworn on the 2nd of September 1946. The Muslim League declared. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can
All
hear.
right. And the Muslim League declared 2nd of September as a day of mourning. It asked Muslims to hold demonstration and display black flags on the day. The new government, however, acted as one team. The viceroy functioned almost like a constitutional head. But on the 26th of October, the Muslim League's nominees also joined the interim government. The inductions of the League's nominees destroyed the team spirit of the government. League's nominees were not prepared to work under Nehru's leadership. They openly rejected the idea of collective responsibility. The viceroy hoped that in the course of time the League would join the Constituent Assembly, but this also did not happen. The Constituent Assembly met on the 9th of December 1946 and no Muslim League member attended its sitting. Alright. So, alright, so this was happening, direct action happened, and now Attlee's announcement. So, events were fast moving towards a crisis early in 1947. Prime Minister Attlee fixed a firm date by which the British would leave India. On 20th of February 1947, he made a historic announcement in the House of Commons. The main thrust of his announcement was that the British would quit India by the 30th of June 1948. If the Muslim League did not join the Constituent Assembly, the government would have to consider to whom the powers of the central government should be handed over on due date, whether as a whole to some form of central government or to some areas to the existing provincial governments. He also announced that Lord Wavell would be replaced by Lord Mountbatten. So Lord Mountbatten was the last Viceroy of India. Gandhi's reaction to the state in
Viceroy.
yes. So basically, what House of Commons is basically like the lower house in Britain. So the Prime Minister went there and he said that on the 30th of June 1948, we will leave India. And he also said that if the Muslim League does not join the government, we will hand it over to the central government or to the independent, um, existing provincial governments. So Gandhi's reaction to this was very positive because the British were going to quit India in the near future. The Muslim League also welcomed this announcement because the Prime Minister had made it clear that power would not necessarily be handed to a single government for the whole of India. Alright, because he stated that even the provinces will give control over. So it intensified its struggle for India's partition. Communal riots broke out in Kolkata, Assam, Punjab, and Northwest Frontier Province. The next one is the Mountbatten Plan. Lord Mountbatten assumed office as Viceroy on the 24th of March 1947. He had been sent with a definite objective of transferring power to India. He was to advise the government in England as to which of the two plans should be chosen. The one which preserved the unity of India but gave maximum powers to the provinces, or the other which divided India into two independent states. The situation in India was very tense because many people, in the hope of the hope of a united India, was extinguished completely in the blood and monsoon passion of 1946. Do you have any idea what he's referring to here? Hello, Athar?
What?
What he is referring to here was extinguished in the blood and monsoon passion of 1946. What is he referring to here? Do you have any idea?
Was extinguished in blood and monsoon passion of
Haha, what is he? What is the
1946.
blood and
World War.
No, no, no. Direct action, na? It started in the
Okay, direct action take
sixth.
plan.
Yeah, direct action plan on the 16th of August 1946. It started around the monsoon. So the blood and all that was shed, he said that the hope of united India was completely extinguished during this time period. After many consultations with Nehru, Patel, Azad, Jinnah, Liaquat Ali, Baldev Singh, and others, Mountbatten came to the conclusion that the sooner power was transferred, the better for everyone. And he found it impossible to convince Jinnah to accept anything other than an independent Pakistan. He was convinced that India was to be partitioned. Transfer of power to Indians could only be on the basis of partition of the country. And on the 3rd of June, he announced his plan. We will get to the plan later. First, let's read this. He possessed an enormous fund of energy and resilience. He was swift in taking decisions, but he was not obstinate. Frank and courteous, his manners were winning. Not only Nehru, but many others succumbed to his dangerous charm. Do you have any idea who Professor Tarachand is referring to?
Lord Mount.
Yes, very good. So let us come to the main points of the plan. First one, the partition of Bengal and Punjab. The partition of Bengal and Punjab was proposed, provided that the legislative assemblies of the two provinces decided in favor of partition. So the power was given, and he said, if the legislative assemblies are in favor of it, you can partition these two provinces. Second, the existing constituent assembly would work, but the constitution framed by it would not apply to Pakistan. So the existing constituent assembly would only be for those part of India who were decided in favor of partition. Sindh. The legislative assembly of Sindh was to take its own decision at a special meeting. In the Northwest Frontier province, a referendum was to be held to decide the future, whether it would stay with India, it would leave India and join Pakistan, or whatever. The the future of the district of Sylhet. So so Sylhet is like a place in
अरे
Bengal.
ठीक है.
It's a district in Bengal. So the Muslim majority district of Sylhet was to decide by referendum whether it would join East Bengal, that is partitioned Bengal, which is Bangladesh or East Pakistan, or remain in Assam. Alright. Sixth on the princely states. As regards to the princely states, the treaties with them would come to an end. They would be free to associate themselves with either of the dominions or to remain independent. Dominion is basically the new independent states, either India, Pakistan, or they could remain independent. 7. A boundary commission. The plan provided for the creation of a boundary commission to settle the boundaries of the two dominions in case partition was decided upon. So this was basically to draw the boundaries or borders. Relations between the two new dominions, the two new states. So it was decided that whatever relation they want to have with each other and with the British nation, let them on their own decide. 9th, transfer of power before the end of 1947. So the plan ended with a declaration that the transfer of power would take place not on June 1948 but much earlier than that. So the British were trying to run out of India now because things are about to get very messy. Any doubts in the main points of the plan? Hello?
What was
Referendum.
referendum?
Yeah, so basically all the people in that in the northwest frontier province would it's like a ballot. So they would be like, do you want to join Pakistan, do you want to join India, do you want to remain independent? People vote for whatever option they want, and based on the majority that would be followed. That is a referendum. It's a type of election, but not for electing representatives, but rather to decide a course of action. Right, so the next, any other doubts?
Okay.
Any other
No.
doubt? Alright. So its acceptance by the League and the Congress. Plan for the partition of India was accepted by the Council of the Muslim League on the 10th of June, and the All India Congress Committee accepted the plan on the 15th of June 1947. Freedom was at the doorstep, but the long cherished dream of Indian unity lay shattered, quoted Tarachand. No Congress leader liked the idea of partition, but they had to accept it as a necessary evil. Gandhi did not blame Mountbatten for India's partition. He said, if both of us, Hindu and Muslims, cannot agree on anything else, the Viceroy is left with no choice. So why did the Congress accept the Mountbatten plan, that is the partition of India? So what are the reasons? First one is the communal rights had taken a serious turn as a result of direct action of the Muslim League. And there was a lot of chaos, anarchy, violence, murder, riots happening, and partition of the country seemed like the only way out of this chaos and anarchy that was happening. Second, the League had joined the interim government to obstruct and not to cooperate. So the interim government, five members of the Muslim League were there, that the experience of working in them had convinced Patel and others that it was not possible to carry on, and they must either be partition or open war with the League. And Jinnah's right hand man was holding the Liaquat Ali. He became the first premier of Pakistan, alright? And he was holding the finance portfolio in the interim government, which is a very powerful position, and he kept on interfering. So it made it very difficult for the Congress ministry, for any Congress minister to function effectively. Third point, the only alternative to partition was a federation with a weak center. The disruptive forces, dynastic, communal, and regional, could be kept under control only by a strong center. A smaller India with a strong central authority was better than a bigger state with a weak center, because then the communal rights would keep on happening. And rather, a strong central government would prevent that. Fourth point, The leaders felt that the partition would rid the constitution of separate electorates and other undemocratic procedures. India could then evolve to a truly secular and democratic polity. So many leaders were against, the concept of separate electorates and all that, which was very communal nature. They believed that once we get this partition done over with, we can abolish this entire system. Fifth, the leaders felt that further delay in the transfer of power would find India in the midst of a civil war. And the British cleverly, now that they were leaving, they tried to create more havoc and trouble. So they were trying to instigate the leaders of the native princely states to assert their right to freedom. They tried to divide India up more. Thus, at last, the Congress had to accept the scheme of partition. And one more point is not noted here, but another point is, a very important fact is because 73 out of the 78 seats reserved for Muslims was won by the Muslim League. Thus, earlier it was not so. The Muslim League was just a Muslim party, but it was to be seen if the Indian Muslims would accept that party as a representative of Muslims in India. And winning 73 out of 78 seats was a very clear indication that the Muslim League represented the interests of Muslims in India. So that was another point. Thus, the Congress had to accept the scheme of partition. It is to be noted that East Bengal, West Punjab, Sindh, and Northwest Frontier Province all voted for Pakistan. So all these regions voted for the formation of a separate state called Pakistan. The district of Sylhet chose to join East Bengal. The Indian Independence Act of 1947. Any doubts in the previous one? Athar?
Where is Sylhet?
Sylhet is a small district in East Bengal. 1 second.
Geographical location.
It is near the border. I think it borders Assam and Bangladesh. Northeastern part of Bangladesh. Let's see images on map. One second. Right. So this is Sylhet district. Alright. It is very close to Assam. Actually not Assam. Currently it is a different thing. But all of Northeast India at the time came under the Assam province. Alright. Did you see that? Yeah. So at the time, all of the in Northeast came under Assam. It was only later that they split into separate states. Anyway, any other doubts? Shall we move on?
No.
All right. The Indian Independence Act of 1947. The Indian Independence Bill was passed by the British Parliament on the 15th of July 1947. It received the royal assent on July 18th. The Indian Independence Act was a short document consisting of less than 20 sections and 3 schedules. Alright, so this was passed in the British Parliament giving independence to India and received royal assent on the 18th of July 1947. It was a very short one. It consists of 20 sections and 3 schedules. So what were its main provisions? First one, it created 2 new dominions, 2 new independence nations from the 15th of August 1947 to be known as India and Pakistan. Pakistan would consist of East Bengal, which is now Bangladesh, West Punjab, Sindh, Baluchistan, Northwest Frontier Province, which is all West Pakistan, and Sylhet. As we mentioned earlier, it was a district in Assam. It went over now to East Pakistan. It is a part of Bangladesh now. All other remaining territories would comprise of the new Indian state. Second point, each dominion would have a governor general. So there would be a governor general for each of the dominions, and the governor general would function as the constitutional head, which is who is the constitutional head of India right now?
Constitutional head.
Yes, constitutional head of India. It is the president. I had a doubt district, but yes, it is the president. So the role of governor general, it's now basically the same as the president. There was no sphere, however, in which he could act against the wish of ministers. Similarly, the provincial governors would have to act on the advice of ministers. So they were basically like caretakers, that's all. Third point, constituent assemblies would serve as central legislatures. So the Pakistan would have a separate constituent assembly, and the constituent assemblies of both the new of the new states would serve as the central legislators, like the main parliament. All right, they were to act as sovereign bodies for the purpose of making the constitution as well as other laws for the dominions. Fourth point, all princely states, and would become independent, and all powers and authority regarding the British Crown and the Princess were terminated. So these states, by definition, became independent. However, other issues such as concerning customs, transits, and communications were to continue. The British would continue them until they were denounced by the states.
What
Or
is the transit?
sorry, transit is basically transport. So transport from this across the two dominions would remain in the hands of British until they were denounced. That is, the states and the two dominions decided to reject it and take it in their own control. Fifth one, the abolition of the office of the Secretary of State. So the Secretary of State was basically like a British post in India that would be completely abolished. Sixth one, the division of the Indian Army and the sharing of assets. Provision was made for the division of the Indian Army and the sharing of assets and liabilities between the two dominions. So all the assets, liabilities in the Indian Army and all that was divided between the two countries. 7. Safeguarding the interests of existing officers. Provision was also made for safeguarding the interests of the existing officers appointed by the Secretary of State, who would not make any such appointments in the future. The Indian Independence Act was described by Lord Samuel as an event unique in history, a treaty of peace without a war. Mr. Attlee declared, "We are clearing the mess of centuries." Would you agree with that last statement? Hello, Athar?
Mm,
Why not? Why do you disagree?
uh, yeah,
Hmm? No, like, why do
it
you.
was not clear. They they just wanted to go.
Yes. So they weren't really clearing or cleaning up the mess. Rather, they were making it even. They made it even more messy. Thanks to their actions in 1940. So they were the ones who were responsible for the growth of the Muslim League in India throughout the 1940s, and they because they wanted to run out of India pretty quick, they accepted partition as a very easy option. All right. So let us do this, and I think the meeting's ending in 6 minutes. So you join back,
Uh,
okay? The dominions of India and Pakistan. The two dominions came into existence on the 15th of August 1947. Pakistan actually was 14th of August, India was the next day. Lord Mountbatten was requested by Nehru. Hello? Can you hear me?
uh,
So, Lord Mountbatten was requested by Nehru to continue
uh,
as Governor General of India. So, he became the Governor General of the Dominion of India. And Muhammad Ali Jinnah became the Governor General of Pakistan. On the 14th of August 1947, on the eve of India's independence, Jawaharlal Nehru made a memorable speech in the Constitution Assembly. Thus, at last, the curtain fell on India's quest for freedom. Partition seemed to offer a way out of arson and communal violence, killings, but that was not to be. Communal carnage broke out after partition, and lakhs of refugees crossed the border to escape the butchery. It took many months to restore calm. So during partition, there was huge, almost 10 million people had to, migrate from Pakistan to India and from India to Pakistan based on their religion, population, and all. And during this transfer of power and the transfer of population, there were mass scale atrocities committed. Rape, murder, burning of trains, burning of houses, killings, stabbings, shootings, and all. And
burning of people.
hmm? Yeah, burning of people, burning of train bogies, the burning of entire carriages of people going over and all that. And over a million people died in the violence. All right. C. Rajagopalachari was sworn in as Governor General of India on the 20th of June 1948. He was the first and last Governor General of Indian origin. He was also the last ever Governor General of India. C. Raja Gopalachari. He was from Tamil Nadu.
I know.
You know? Acha. On the 26th of
Uh,
January 1950, Dr. Rajendra Prasad assumed office as the President of the Indian Union, and the Constituent Assembly became the Parliament of India under the new transitional provisions of the new Constitution. Alright, so he was from 1948 to 1950, Rajagopalachari. He's known as Rajaji. So he was the.
hmm. Wait,
Yeah? What happened?
wait for 2 minutes. Now.
What happened?
Now my tuition teacher came.
Oh, acha, you have to go now. Hello?
Uh,
You have to go now.
uh,
Yes, no, do you have to go?
yes, I have to go.
Alright, fine. Go finish it then. I think there's only one page left. We'll do it tomorrow. No worries. Unless you have 10 minutes left. If you don't, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah,
Alright?
he's already at my house.
Alright, we'll do it tomorrow then, okay?
Bye.
Bye.